Okay, so we're live on Facebook. Yeah, beautiful. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Warriors of Light, to this video live audio podcast transmission Thursdays. We're here every Thursdays, 5 p.m. I'm typically doing this in this Zoom space, right? For those who are joining me on Zoom, hello. Thank you for joining. And I'm also live streaming this on Facebook. So I'm just gonna make sure that that's actually happening, and then we'll jump into today, right? So when you join, we typically say hello by sharing and saying hello, as well as our hashtags, hashtag warrior of light, hashtag genetic path cutter, right? Because the more you engage with me, the more this gets to be potent, powerful, aligned with what you need today. If you are a newbie here, hashtag newbie, let me know for those who are new so that I know how to best accommodate today's audience, yeah? I've recently started to say yeah a lot, so you can expect that. I think I got this from my friend, Dumelo Morere. She's the one who likes to say yeah. Hi, Tato. Okay, so welcome once again podcast. We are here on Facebook. We are also available on YouTube, on Anchor FM, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So you can always catch us in these different platforms that we have. We really appreciate it when you like. And when I say we, it's really me and my assistant. It's not like a team of people. But yes, we really do appreciate it because we are trying to connect with as many genetic path cutters as possible, those who are called to heal themselves as well as heal their bloodline. So a lot of my transmissions are connected to genetics, DNA, ascension, and so today's conversation is not going to be any different. We're continuing around with that stream. We're talking the creation of personal reality, which is a really potent conversation that we need to have for those of us who are here on a journey of creating, being conscious creators of their lives. Right, so we're going to be jumping into that. Let me put on my lights. Yeah, okay, that looks much better. Okay, yes. So before we jump in, let me start with updates, right? So if you are not following me on social media, just 2 days back, I shared a great opportunity that I have. And this opportunity is specifically for those who are practitioners, those who want to be professional healers, or who are already professional healers and they're looking on deepening their skill set, their techniques, and also just getting to be clearer vessels and conduit of spirit in the work that we're doing, creating trauma-informed spaces for those that we work with, right? So I have a quantum healing training for practitioners that's open for enrollment now, and it will be available for you to go read about it, get to know and see if it resonates with you, and yeah, if it does, apply for this opportunity. I have limited space because I want to dive deeply with every warrior who's going to participate in this. So there is a limited space because I want to give you the attention. So if you're feeling called, this is probably the best time to apply now. It will only be available once a year because it's a 9-month program, and then we'll come back again next year. Right, but there's always next time, we hope. I do change my mind a lot. So you can go check it out on my website, join me and read about it. And if it resonates, you know what to do, right? Yes. Okay, great. So let's jump to today's transmission. Right. So the creation of personal reality. So this actually is inspired by my favorite book, right? My favorite book is called The Nature of Personal Reality. And this is by Jane Roberts. You all know I'm a Safi and I'm always reading Jane Roberts. This is a book that was written in the 70s, the 60s, 70s, 80s, somewhere in that era. It's a very powerful book. It's that type of book that if I was stuck in a loop and I only had to bring one book, that would be the book that I would bring with me, because I can never just get over how powerful and profound it is. Right? So today, this conversation is inspired by that, but it's a little different because I'm not diving into the nature, but more on how do we create our reality, right? So I want to take us a little bit up, and then we're going to go down and take all the way to our personal lives so that we can understand how this works, right? So the premise of all my transmission, they are based on the idea, the belief that you have the sparks of God inside you, the divinity of God are alive inside you. You are an incarnation of divinity. And because you're an incarnation of divinity, you're an incarnation of the source of all creation, you have within your body, within your mind, within your consciousness, the ability to create, the power to create. And in fact, you are constantly creating your life. Right? However, it's not as simple as we may have always assumed it to be. There are different elements that come into play when we are creating lives as eternal beings, as eternal consciousness that has always existed, consciousness that is infinite, that is eternal, that is timeless, which is what you are, right? So if you can already adapt that mindset, even if it doesn't make sense to you yet, this entire transmission will make sense, right? So as eternal consciousness, we have embodied or incarnated into physical matter, into physical bodies. And the reason why we have done that is around the 4 E's, which is to come here and experience what it's like to be in a physical vessel, to come and explore just what is possible for us as eternal beings who have all of time and all of eternality to be. So we're here to just explore, and we are also here to experience, right? We want to have different experiences. And at the highest level of our consciousness, we actually do not actually judge experiences as bad or good. They are experiences that we have chosen to experience, that we have volunteered to come and experience, right? Even if from our human consciousness or our human perspective, we are in a state of suffering and this is horrible. This is horrible. I don't want to be here. That's your human self. And your human self is a different aspect of the bigger consciousness that you are, right? So there's this human ego self who's here perceiving me, listening to me right now. And then there is another intelligence beyond that, right? And that intelligence is probably the intelligence that is having dreams at night, the intelligence that is ensuring that you are functioning, you're doing things you're not even thinking about, like that intelligence that is making your heart beat, the blood to flow, There's another aspect of you that is beyond even the physical vessel. You may perceive it as if it's outside, but it's really not outside. It's actually almost as if the human physical body is inside your bigger consciousness, right? So we are inside a big balloon, and that balloon is your bigger consciousness. And that's what people call your higher self, right? That's what we mean by, I want to connect with my higher self. That is the bigger aspect of you. Your higher self is not separate from you, but your higher self does perceive beyond what you are able to perceive in your human body. Are you with me? Right. So if we're not going to say anything, I'm going to shut down the laptop and we're going to go to sleep, because I'm not going to function like that, right? So you have to talk to me, right? You have to talk to me, because I'm doing this out of my heart and I want to support you. But yeah, I can see you. So it's a little weird, right? So you need to respond. Yeah. Also, I can see your names. So I don't want to call people's names. Yes. Buela, Kayla, Taulani, you have to say something. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kayla. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So your bigger body, Marcos, yeah. So your bigger body is this higher self, right? That can perceive so much more. And this bigger balloon that I want you to begin to picture, inside the bigger balloon, there is a lot of information that is going to influence the experiences that you have. So beyond your physical body, this bigger balloon makes up what we call your subtle bodies, right? So these subtle bodies, there are different levels of the subtle bodies. We'll talk about it another time. They are holding essentially your genetics or your DNA or your ancient memory, right? And it is this memory of planet Earth, of human history, of your ancestral history that will inform the experiences that you will have, right? So every single thing that you have ever actually experienced was already coded into your physical, into your subtle bodies. That information was already existing. And in fact, our daily lives is to keep discovering what is written in our blueprints, in these subtle bodies, right? So as humans, we can't actually exactly create anything that does not exist in the field of creation, in beyond the physical vessel. We are constantly using past memories to create new things. Right? Does that make sense? We're using past memories, the experiences of our ancestors to create new things. So the creation that we talk about, that you are creating your reality, is based on this, the fact that beyond your physical body, there is another aspect of yourself. And that aspect is directing your experiences. It's choosing which experiences you will go through. And it's choosing it from a higher perspective. Your higher self does not judge these experiences as good and bad. It just sees them as opportunities for exploration, experience, and evolution as well. So these experiences that you've had, so for example, the first experience that most of us decide is we decide on which particular bloodline or genetics we are going to incarnate in, meaning we choose these parents that we will come through, right? The aspect of you choosing that is not really this human self. It is the higher self choosing the family that you're going to incarnate in. And as you choose that family, you are choosing to inherit the pain and the traumas and the shadows of that family. You're also choosing to inherit the gifts and the divine mastery of that family, right? And these will be within your being, and they will inform the particular experiences that you will have, right? So all the experiences that you've had, they are not brand new, they are not out of the nowhere, right? So if, for example, in school, you're gifted in mathematics, right? So that template of being good with mathematics, we can always trace that where that comes from one of your ancestors who was a mathematician, right? They had that template. However, if we're not able to trace it in genetics, which is from your bloodline, there is also what we call your soul DNA. Your soul itself also has a DNA and a bloodline it belongs to. And there will be specific things that as a soul, you'll be able to do, maybe that's not active in your bloodline, your physical family, but you have it because of your soul DNA. Right? So this information, if you don't understand what I mean by this, check out my free 3-day series I did last year on genetic alchemy, DNA healing. It's in my link on Instagram, right? So there is this information coded that will inform the experiences that you have. So look at all the things that you've ever went through. And a quantum healer like myself, I can trace where these experiences come from beyond yourself. We can see some of it from a great-grandparent, or we can see some of this from a past timeline where your soul was having experiences, maybe in a different land from the one that you are in. Because remember, we are eternal, we are timeless, we are constantly coming here, having these different experiences, right? So what does this mean? It means the creation of our reality is dependent a lot on DNA, ancestral DNA and soul DNA. And our job is to actually awaken to our DNA, to our genetics, to get to know what happened to our people, so that we can then, and also to my soul as well, not just your people, so that we can know what experiences from these timelines or these DNA experiences are now repeating or coming through me, and I am unconsciously creating them, even if I don't mean to create them. Right? Are you with me? Does that make sense? Yes. So what that will look like, an easier thing is taking out, like using myself as an example. So I'm a teacher. I love to teach. I could do this all day. I cannot do that. But when I look back into my bloodline, I come from a bloodline of teachers. So the template of teaching is in my family. So the experiences where I found myself growing up, being led to pick books, to read, to engage with knowledge in the way that I did, it wasn't random, right? Although at the time, at some point, I didn't realize that this is actually something continuing through me, like the love of reading and writing and teaching was continuing through me, because my DNA had that as an information, as a code, that we will be teachers, we will be wisdom keepers, we will be, wisdom explorers, you know? So then, that has continued. And luckily for me, but I want you to think about yourself. Luckily for me, I didn't resist this code. I recognized it pretty early on, and I took the steps I needed to continue to create now more consciously, right? And that's how I kind of created this life where I do teachings every other day, right? Because I'm honoring, and I'm also recognizing that this was already written in me. It was already written in my subtle bodies. I can't actually run away from that. Right? And at the same time, it's easier to see maybe your gifts, but what about the shadows? Right? So for me, my shadow has always been the shadow of control, right? Like wanting to control things, right? And this obviously comes from my bloodline as well. It's pretty dangerous, right? So I've always been like a little bit of a control freak. I'm very particular, perfectionist, and so on. And that's a shadow that has not necessarily been coming in ways that are healthy for me, right? And has influenced different aspects of my life. And it was through not only inherited this, but I'm also here to come and explore this shadow that allowed me to do something about my experiences and my love of control, and how that has actually affected different things in my life, right? So once we can come to that bigger realization that we are consciously and unconsciously and subconsciously and superconsciously constantly creating, there is the choices that you are making right now. Maybe you chose to to go to school for a particular program. You chose that, right? And then you created that reality where you end up being the lawyer or the doctor or the teacher or whatever that is. You created that. You can see the map of how that came to be, right? What I'm interested in and what you should be interested in is, what are you creating that you're not conscious of, right? What are these things that you have been thinking that are randomly happening to you, right? When they're not, and in fact, they are happening because you're supposed to become aware of them so that you can master these particular experiences, because that's the whole idea. Last week, I spoke about how Earth is an initiatory school for us to become masters, right? So there are things that you are unconsciously creating. Some of these are from your trauma experiences. So typically what I see is you go through an experience when you're a child, right? And that experience may be painful for you. And what you will do is you will make a vow, and you can make it consciously or unconsciously. You'll be like, I will never ever speak in front of people ever again, right? Maybe because the other kids laughed at you when you were reading and you didn't read the word properly. And so you make a vow, never ever gonna read, it's not safe, right? And after that, you are a person who gets so terrified whenever they have to present. Or I see a lot of like healers, for example, I'm like, you do have to step into sharing your work, and they get so terrified because of these unconscious vows that they made that are now running through, and they're not yet connecting that I am not able to, for example, do a live stream because of this vow that happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, right? So that's what you want to get to know, the unconscious things that you are creating, right? From your trauma experiences. And then there's the unconscious things that you are creating from your ancestral woundings and patterns, the things that your ancestors went through, right? They affect you today, right? Black people can get that. You understand that, oh yeah, what happened to my people 50 years ago, 100, 500 affects me in this way, right? You see that, right? Are you with me? And then we have programs, right? Actually, let's just call it the program, which is also called the matrix, which is essentially the collective agreements that humanity has made. And some of these collective agreements, they were not made by the collective group of humanity. They were made by specific people, right? So I think a lot about like our education system. There were people who decided what we will be taught, right? And they agreed on that. And then that's how we ended up being taught what we were taught in high school and in universities, right? And based on those specific things that they were agreed on, what we call collective agreements, that will shape how we think about ourselves and the world. And it will also shape what we create, because we will use the information we learned as a barrier, or as a template of what is acceptable and what is possible on planet Earth. And this is why there are certain things you currently believe are not possible for you, mostly because you haven't seen anything different from that. What you were taught, what you consumed, what you received from collective agreements has made you believe that it's not possible. An example of a collective agreement that a lot of us we struggle with is that it's very difficult to be a genetic pathcutter or a healer, right? That you can't, for example, make a living from being a healer. You have to go get another job and then you do this, right? That was a collective agreement I grew up with, and for a long time, I didn't want to be a full-time healer. I went the other route of psychology, which is like kind of more acceptable, until my higher consciousness led me to this path. And what I have experienced, it blows my mind, but I see it's outside the collective agreements. Like what I know, what I have experienced, most people will think I'm lying. because it's not what we were taught. It doesn't fit the collective agreements. And that those collective agreements are what informs what you will create in your reality. Right? Do you see how what you've been consuming from TV, what you've been consuming from the education system, what you've been consuming from what people say, like your cousins and your friends? If a friend say, no, you could never be successful as an entrepreneur, and you choose to agree with what they're saying, then you won't pursue your entrepreneurial desires. And then you will create a reality where they never come true, right? Are you with me? Yes. Okay, I'll come back to your amazing questions in a minute. Yeah. Right. So collective agreements, these collective agreements, some of them were done from fear by who the greater powers, those who are in power, who are deciding for us, right? And then there are some things that we were taught by the program, by the metrics, by the powers that be, that were actually they were created to stifle and siphon our godhood, our ability to create, right? So everything that you have ever wanted to create, you haven't created it because you believe you don't know how to create it, or it cannot happen for you. And the reason why you believe that is because of the constant programming you've been receiving from different aspects of the metrics, of the bigger program, of the collective agreements, right? Like for me, I had to collapse the collective agreement. I had to be like, yes, everyone says that you could never do this full time, but I'm no longer believing in that, right? There are many things I have seen myself create in my reality that don't fit what the program says, but I've noticed I've created them only mostly when I choose to see that I am a co-creator, that I have been imbued with the divine powers to create, because I am a fractal of God. And if God can create universes, why can't you create your universe? Because you live in your own universe alone. By the way, you live in your own universe alone. No one else exists there. But as a God of your universe, you are listening to other gods and that stories of how they created their universes, and you try to use what they did to create your universe. Do you see how that is so limiting and stifling? Do you see how that is actually a renunciation of your own powers and your gifts, right? So when I'm talking about your own personal universe, I'm talking about the fact that every single day you wake up and you think things, right? And all day things are happening and you think them as well, and you process them and you contemplate on them, and then you come back and you go to sleep and you dream things, and you wake up and you repeat. No one else experiences that. Even if right now there are many people watching me, everyone who's watching me, they're perceiving me differently. That's why I know you live in your own personal universe, your own personal reality. Right? So the question is, what are the rules, the laws that you use to govern your universe? And how much of those laws and rules are they expanding you, evolving you, allowing you to experience so much more? Or how much of it are you accepting it as, I am incapable, I do not have the right stuff, yada, yada, yada. Right? How much are you allowing fear to run your universe? Are you with me? Right? So the creation of all personal realities is that every single one of us, we are creating it, right? And so that we don't get stuck in this idea, every personal universe, it is created through universal laws or sacred laws, right? It is created through sacred laws, as in in my universe, there is just no way that I can suddenly give myself wins because I want wins, right? I can only create according to the laws that govern our bigger universe, our bigger planet, that the bigger, true, most high God has made, right? So when I talk about you being a God, I mean small g, and then there's the big G, big God, most high, right? My nigga. Yeah, okay. So everything that you're creating, it has to be in alignment with sacred law, right? Universal laws. We had an amazing conversation with Mukulu Vusilizwe in season 2 about universal laws. If you haven't watched that, I recommend that you go check it out in my YouTube. It's literally universal laws, to get to know them a little bit, because he broke them down. Otherwise, you can enroll in the mystery school. I teach these as well, right? I'm actually teaching universal laws, sacred laws next week in the mystery school. But yes, so what are these sacred laws? There are sacred laws that are important, you know, like the sacred law of the prime directive, as in, like, you cannot really interfere with someone else's experiences. You can't go into someone else's universe and collapse it, right? But what you can do is you can convince someone else certain things about that universe, and then they can choose to adapt what you say, which is what has happened to a lot of us. As in, maybe your parents came and told you you could never ever be a doctor, and then you took that in as a truth, and then that became your reality. Now you're not a doctor. So your parents did not stop you from actually applying to medical school. You are the one who didn't do it, right? So this is just a general. There's also other bigger things, like no, not bigger, as in beyond our parents, where we are told, yeah, the healer thing, you can't be successful as a healer, right? And then people will be like, yeah, you see, all the healers are not successful. Yeah, all the healers are not successful because all of them bought into the collective agreement. That collective agreement does not mean it's true, though. Just because many people are experiencing something does not mean that's truth with big T. That is not the ultimate truth, right? It is just a version of an experience that people decided to go through together for their own exploration, right? So the question is, what are the things that you were told that you are now using to create your reality? What are these experiences? Let me drink my water. So there's a question here. Let me see. So how does one effectively break away from collective agreements? Okay. So the thing about collective agreements, there are collective agreements that are spoken, right? We hear them and we learn about them, and we either choose to accept them or not. And then there are collective agreements that are entrained in the DNA, right? It's information that has already been put into your DNA. And so that collective agreement is existing in what we call the shadow frequencies of your genetics, right? So an example of a collective agreement, let's take a collective agreement that maybe a particular family will have. Let's take an example of money. A family can have a collective agreement that may have started with a great-great-grandfather who one time said that we as a family were poor. We never make money, we'll never make money. This grandfather said it because he was in pain, or something happened that led him to say that. And after that, as it kept being spoken over and over, people started to agree to that. The family members started to agree. Indeed, we are poor, we never make money, we'll always be poor. And then that agreement, it kept moving from one generation to the other. How is it moving? Even after grandfather has passed on, even as those who are alive today never heard the words, It is because that agreement is in the DNA. It's coded into your DNA as information. And so to break collective agreement, the easier ones are the ones you can pinpoint. You're like, no, this person, they keep saying that I could never be successful. I refuse to agree in this, to believe this. You have broken a collective agreement. The ones that are tricky are the ones you don't even realize you are participating in, which will be the grandfather who said, you always be poor. And you find yourself horrible with money. And you just think it's just how it is. My people, we just have never been able to make money. It's just how it is. And you don't realize there was a collective agreement, which can also be called an oath, an ancestral oath, an ancestral vow, an ancestral contract. So you need to identify which one is it, right? Then you can, I'm so frightened because it's like thunder outside. Yeah. Okay, so what was I saying? So you need to identify these collective agreements. And how do you identify it? You travel to the genetics. How? Through your subtle bodies. Remember, I said that information is in the subtle bodies, beyond the physical body. So you need to learn how to travel there, to go access that information and to go change it. How do you change it? The reason why we talk about the word being powerful, the reason why they say in the beginning there was the word and the word was with God, it is because all creation is created through sound, through the word, through sound and light, right? So that is why what you do say, which is sound, is so powerful. The things you say to yourself, the things that were said to you are powerful. They are what holds an agreement. So what you want to do, if an agreement was created through sound, through a grandfather saying we're always poor, it can be undone through word, which is we are actually prosperous, we are abundant, we are an abundant family. Moving forward, we are an abundant family. You have to announce that, invoke that, command that. You have to tell your DNA, hey, DNA, moving forward with me, we make so much money. And you have to keep saying it until your DNA reprograms itself to receive your new information. And that process is what we call shifting your DNA from a shadow, which is like an illusion, something that is not true. Of course, it's not true that you're meant to be poor. Like, why would God want you to be poor? That doesn't make sense. But you may buy into it and then say that the Most High God wanted you to be poor. There is no Most High God who wants us to suffer, y'all. The Most High God has given us the ability to change the situations that we're in. We just sometimes refuse to change these situations because we have renounced our power, our creation powers, right? So what do? When you are reclaiming, you use words. You have to say, create new agreements. Moving forward, we are successful in my family. We are prosperous. It gets to be easier and easier and easier to create wealth. And it gets to be easier and easier for me to do this work of art, this work of healing, this work of warriorship, or whatever the work is, right? So let me know, what is the new agreement you want to start entering today? Right. So there are some agreements that you already know. You don't need to travel anywhere, right? An example of an agreement that you may already know is, probably people know the agreements when it comes to money. How do you know your agreement? You look at how you've been experiencing your money. You look at your intimate relationships. How have you been experiencing? What is the pattern? If there is a pattern you can identify, that's an agreement. There's an agreement that exists there. Does that make sense? Okay. Balisa, does that make sense? Did I answer you? So you have to use your words. So the question, what roles do dreams play in creating? all creation exists first in the dream state before it manifests into the physical world. So we dream something first before it manifests into the physical realm, right? So many of us don't, every single night, we are seeing future timelines, experiences, you know. So many of us probably dreamt of 2020, maybe when we were 5 years old, but we couldn't connect because we didn't know what was really happening. So every time you go to the dream state, you are actually entering the quantum field, right? And in the quantum field, all of time exists. So, and it's where creation is being created, or all things are being created, right? So our dreams are the source of creation. Some of the experiences we're having, these are the dreams of the bigger gods, not bigger as if like they're better than us, but like as in they're outside human bodies, right? Some of them, we are living them, you know, like especially, let's think of the last 2 years as the dreams of the soul of our Mother Earth. She's also creating. She dreams things and we see them happening here, right? Like this rain, this thunder, right? It was dreamt first by the god of rain, and then it's here. They dreamt it in their universe, and then it's here. It's happening to it in our universe. Yeah? Are you with me? Are you with me? Is quantum dreaming an African word or tradition? No, quantum, I don't know if there's even something called quantum dreaming. It's basically what I'm talking about is just your basic dreaming. It has nothing to do with tradition or culture. Every culture, not every human, even the animal kingdoms, they dream. So it has nothing to do with Africanism or Blackness or tradition. And these teachings that I teach about are definitely about the collective human consciousness, right? But do we have words like the word dreaming in African languages? Yeah, definitely. My language is Ke Ditoro, you know, so they're recognized as a real spiritual experience. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what about dreams that don't make sense? Do we need to understand our dreams for us to create through them? Because I don't understand half of my dreams. I mean, I will have to literally do an entire live stream on dreams, and I'll probably do it soon, because different dreams are teaching and reflecting different things. There are dreams that are creation dreams. These are dreams that are creating, you know. There are also dreams that are for processing. You went through an experience, you fought with your boyfriend today, and then at night you dream about the fight continuing. You don't need to obsess about what does it mean? Is he gonna leave me? No, you are processing an event that happened and you are not fully satisfied with how it ended, you know. So there are many different aspects of dreams. There are also dreams that are coming from the ancestral realm that are coded with information. There are also dreams that are about the future, that are about the past, that are about this moment. So there are many different types of dreams. And is it about obsessing with and interpreting your dreams? I'm more interested in the feeling, the emotion of the dream. That is what you should tap into more rather than the storyline. The more you can tap into the emotions, the more then the storyline will actually start to make sense, right? If you're having a dream about that felt scary and so on, you know, you want to look into what is happening in your life, you know. So for example, I recently moved into this new house, and this entire week, only I think on Monday did I start having normal dreams, but I've just been having horrible dreams. But I understand these are connected to me moving into a new space, connected to also the energy imprints of this house based on the people who used to live here, and also probably my own fears that I have about being in a new environment, right? So what I focused on was the emotion, because the emotion gives me more information that I can then know what to do, even though I had cleansed it before. And I also asked for more support and I shielded myself. And then now it's okay, right? But typically you should have a dream journal as a genetic path cutter. Because what I've seen is that some dreams I don't understand, and then months later they come true, and then because I have a dream journal, I'll be like, oh, that was what that was about, right? Yes. Okay. So one other question you're asking, Palisa, is what about the notion that dark forces are influencing our minds and therefore our lives? How does that influence how we create? Great question, because I wanted to cover this, right? So this is going to be wild, right? And it may be some time before you could integrate what I'm saying. Dark forces are fractals, aspects of God as well. These are aspects of God that have decided to separate themselves from the unified field or the quantum field, or separate themselves from working with universal law, with sacred laws. And they have separated themselves and decided that they will be the big God. They are going to create their own rules. For example, the rule on planet Earth currently is that this is a mortal life, meaning that you will exist probably for, on average, 100 years or 120 years, right? That's a sacred law. It's very rare to go beyond, currently to be 1,000 years old. And I know there's bigger stories around that, right? But other consciousnesses may decide they don't like that whole idea of just being here for 100 years. They want to live forever in physical bodies. And so they will manipulate sacred laws to fit their desires, right? And there are many entities, what I call hyperdimensional forces, that are interested in serving themselves, in being their own gods, in going against the prime directive and going against sacred laws. This is true. And these forces, that definitely some of them are manipulating the collective, creating agreements that do not serve the greater good of humanity, but they're serving their own agendas, right? And there are many of these agendas that exist in our planet, right? But so the wild idea is this: these forces, they are fragments of humanity, right? They are often the head aspect of humanity. These are heartbroken consciousnesses that have not felt love or experienced love or whatever it is that made them believe that it's better they are alone. It's better that they perceive us as different from them, as not as worthy as them, right? So the reason why it's important to move to that awareness that which is dark, that which is the shadow, it's actually the rejected, abandoned aspect of ourselves, right? So even when, for example, people talk about fallen ancestors are part of our ancestry that have done things that are atrocious to us, like our ancestors who killed, our ancestors who did violent actions and. However, if you just took it as one event, like what they killed, and you're not going to why did they kill, and you go back to even the experiences that they have, often enough, people who kill, who do violent actions, you can see a trail of trauma in their own experiences. You can see how they didn't experience love. Yes, there are cases of people who did experience love and they are still psychopaths, right? We know that. But on average, most beings who go dark, they were not loved. And if you can face a shadow and recognize it as the unloved aspect of God, then you can see how it cannot possibly have the power to truly really hurt you or harm you. It can manipulate you into thinking you are in danger. It can manipulate you to renounce your power, give you its power, give it your power, right? Definitely that can happen. So this is obviously not a belief system that I will encourage you to go jump into. It takes a bit of time for like you need to get more initiated to really understand how to navigate the terrains. But for example, that child in the bloodline, who is the black child, the black, what do they call it? The black sheep, the one who's creating havoc and what is actually really happening is that this is the child who is holding the emotions of the entire family. These are emotions that have not been processed. All the unprocessed fights and pain that has happened in the family. That child is the one who's acting them out, trying to awaken everyone to these shadows. But then we separate ourselves and we're like, he's the bad kid. He's the one on drugs. He's the one stealing the laptops and selling them. He's the one not recognized. There isn't any action that is done on planet Earth that is unique, that does not have a source that is often the collective group, right? Including these entities, these forces that we're talking about. This is not in any way to say go and befriend these forces, right? But understand that they do not hold more power than you. And if you walk in the world feeling like they do, then their agendas will actually unfold with ease. If you can understand that you have a God, the force of God inside you, and once you can recognize this and connect with it and use it the way the bigger, most high God, true living God wanted you to use it, then you will start to see these shadow frequencies just falling and collapsing, and they won't even be able to really honestly touch you, because any dark force, any dark being functions and is maintained by one stream of frequency, and that is the stream of fear. And that is why we were made to get terrified by certain things. Because when you have fear, then you exist in a frequency that is further from the frequency of source God, right? And it's easy to get manipulated when you are in fear. So if you want to reclaim your sovereignty, you need to move from fear. And you need to move from fear by starting to see it as, oh, these are aspects of all the crappy things we have done to each other as humanities, and we've never dealt with them. I mean, tell me, warriors, the pain that happened to our ancestors during the slavery era, where did it go? Did it just disappear? No, it didn't disappear. It mutated and it went into higher dimensions, the fourth dimension, the astral, and created what we now call the dark kingdom. It is that, it's the pain that an entire race experience, so raw, so ancient. And now today we're here just chatting, and it's like this didn't happen 500 years ago. That entire pain of our ancestors it's existing in other aspects, in other realms. And sometimes we see the shadows. You are seeing your grandmother's pain. We call that egregores, right? So please go get training in, like they call this psychic defense, learn how to psychically defend yourself, but also recognize the truth of creation. Ultimately, you are the one who is truly holding more power, even against any force in the world that is anti-life, anti-Christ, anti-God. You are always more powerful than it, but it can convince you that you are not. Yeah. Does that make sense? So when we come into our spiritual journey, the discernment that we do have to have is that there are definitely two forms of energies, that those that are in service to others, the collective, and those, which is what we call Ubuntu, and those that are in service to themselves. That is literally the polarities we speak of around good and bad, right? Bad is in separation, but intrinsically, I personally do not prescribe to a creator who is as powerful as this true living source God, who is in more command than the true living source God, and who has the power to hurt the children of God. I don't subscribe to that. I believe truly that there isn't anything higher than the true most living source God. And everything underneath that, it's either someone masquerading and pretending that they have more power, and then you buy into it. You know, a person who tells you, yeah, I'm rich, I have money. Then you come and you realize they don't have the money, you know, but they can convince you, right? And so that's the discernment for us to actually look at the discrepancies that we do have around the power that we have, around eternal divinity, around what we're capable of creating, and around our godhood and our creatorhood. We are creators. We create, we are co-creating through universal law, sacred laws, and also through divine will, right? You cannot will the winds to come, but you can will for your dream to come true. You can will for your desire to manifest, and it will come into manifestation. And it may take a while. It may take a while because you have collective agreements you need to collapse that are embedded in your DNA that you need to heal. It may take a while because you're still running on fear. You're still running on stories that are not actually true, but you've had them for such a long time that you've started to believe that they are true. So you need to let them go. You need to release them. That is how you create your personal reality. In fact, you are here to come and be a master of your personal reality, to move away from using the voices, the teachings, agreements of any other person, including me, including any other person who you think they have the answers. No one has the answers to how you get to create your universe, because they don't live your universe. You do. Only you live in it. So you have to really look into how much you are in touch with the power that you were given as a fractal, as a child of the Most High God. And how much, because you must recognize, if you do not recognize this, it really means that you do not, you haven't yet come into awareness of the actual power of the Most High God, the source that has created this entire world and universe. Right? If there is that source that has created this beauty we see, this beautiful earth that we see, and somehow you think that that source will skip you, it will skip you and give you something that is not glorious and beautiful and expansive and prosperous and abundant, then we're talking about two different beings, because that's not the true Most High God. Does that make sense? Yeah. So this is my invitation with this transmission. I just want us to move away from seeing and perceiving ourselves as this weak species that has just kind of like been dropped here on planet Earth to come and suffer and then go back. That is not what we are here to do. We are not also, we may be victims of specific things, but that is not the true design. And if you feel like you have been disadvantaged by the power that be, that is true in some level, but it's important to awaken to that disadvantage. It's an illusion. It's a story you were told and you then bought into it, right? Yeah, someone can come and say the Black race is the lesser race, and we buy into it. Someone can come and say women are the lesser gender, and we buy into it, right? Someone can say heteronormative relationships are the superior relationships, and we buy into it. We can buy into any story, and we can buy particularly into the idea of other people having more authority to decide what is true and what is not true. When what we need to do is to come back to the heart, what God truly feels like it's a true living God, when you think about whether you are meant to suffer or not? Is it not the God who will say, child, I did not create you to suffer. I gave you everything that you needed to create a different experience. But in any case, in the event that you are in suffering, that suffering is in purpose, and awaken to that purpose and do something with that awareness moving forward to change the status quo. You are not here to continue the pain of your ancestors, the pain of those who, the aspects of your soul that have lived. You are not here. We are not here to copy and paste and keep repeating over and over again. That is not evolution. We are here to evolve, to become masters. And that starts with understanding you are truly creating your reality in different levels, through different aspects of yourself. And you just have to begin to awaken to this. Awaken to your higher self. Awaken to your collective agreements, ancestral oaths, vows, all of these, and collapse that which needs to be collapsed, and resurrect, bring back to life through your words, right? Through light, through prayer, through okupatla, through whatever process you use to awaken the gifts that were imbued within your being, the mastery that is already inside you, the power that is already inside you. Huh? Does that make sense? I hope that spoke to you all. So I will do a live stream on dreams because that's a big one. Yeah. Yes, Belua. Karma is basically memory that is Asian memory that is in our DNA that has this impulse to be released, right? So when an experience repeats itself, or we're like, oh, this is my karma, it's because there's a desire for it to be healed and released, right? So it is always an opportunity, right? There is a saying, I've said it before, that there is where we can look at suffering as, oh my God, horrible, or you could look at it as suffering is grace. This is Richard Root. He says suffering is grace. And through suffering, we get in touch with our individual wounds and the world wounds. And if we allow that grace, the grace of suffering, to teach us, right, what it wants to teach us, and most of the time, suffering will always teach you of your power to change that suffering. That's the grace of suffering. It does not come to punish you. It comes to awaken you, to awaken your power as a co-creator, as a master. Right. Yeah. Does a person's name influence or guide what they're meant to be created? I mean, in African tribes, we believe this. In my language, we say Lina Lebeseromo. And when I really, for example, look at my name, I feel like I kind of lived up to this. I believe names are prophecies, or they are part of our prophecies, right? It's not random. What your parents named you is not random. It holds an imprint, right? And some names are imprint, they're the opposite imprint, right? You can be given a name that came because of a particular struggle, but that doesn't mean you're meant to be that struggle. It means that there's a recognition of how you came into this world, and that energy was maybe heavy, and that you may always have that imprint with you, right? And like I said, that is grace. You have to look at it as, yeah, that imprint is yours to carry in this lifetime. And you are skilled, strong, capable, highly qualified to carry that imprint of your name. Doesn't mean it's easy, right? So my names, not because most people know me as Joy. I do think I embody that, but I have another name, which is Khamangwe, which is like from my grandmother, Khamangwe Maseho, which is about blessings. I've always felt this impulse to be a blessing to people. This is part of why I do this work. And my Galanga name, which is Cheza, which means light, right? To be the light. So I have lived up to my names. I believe if I have, probably it's true for you as well. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Suffering is grace. Suffering is grace. Thank you, beloved ones, for joining me. I do this every Thursdays. Come and join me next week. Please feel free to send me a DM on topics you would like me to cover. I see here that we want to learn about dreams, so maybe next week I will talk about that, right? And once again, check out my website to go learn about my new offer. Share it with people who you feel like it may be aligned with them if it's not resonant for you right now. And I will see you next week. Bye.